Hello. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. It's February 20, 20th, and it's Friday, and it's the second to the last week of February, because next week we'll be kicking off this month, heading over to the next month of March. So time is going fast. January feels like yesterday. um I was watching some of the videos. I was watching some of the videos that I recorded last year in December, and this feels like yesterday. Nothing has changed really. But anyways, I hope you're doing great. Today I'm supposed to record a video at 9 o'clock. By 7 o'clock right now, about 8 o'clock already, so I have some time, and it's good. I covered a video earlier in the afternoon, but I was so busy. Now I have like a calendar that I have to follow. I have like a schedule that I have to follow, so I can stay consistent. I can stay. So I have like a line, instead of like waking up and do random stuff. I do have some specific things that I do, right? Like for instance, I go to the gym. That's mandatory. I have to go to the gym. I have to go to class. What else do? I have to make a video, right? And of course I have to eat, right? So those are like mandatory stuff. But the other things that I tend to forget, right? Like doing research right now. They have research coming up, so I have to do research, I have to read papers, I have to do coding, I have to prepare for midterms coming up, right? I have to do homeworks, I have to do case studies, I have to apply for jobs, I have to attend summits, I have to attend webinars and conferences. All of those things, when they are not scheduled, they easily like forgotten. Like today I forgot to attend a webinar. I just received an email that the webinar was pre-recorded, right? That's because when I signed up, I forgot to put it in my calendar, right? When you have too many things happening, right, at some point just you forget about things, right? Like it gets forgotten. Okay, so I had lunch early in the afternoon, so I haven't eaten since then. So I'm really hungry. I'm hungry, and I couldn't eat before I do make this video. Anyways, today I woke up in the morning because the schedule is starting off now. Like everything's opening back up, right? So I have to get busy as well. So I woke up earlier, 6:30. Went to got some breakfast. Went to the gym. Came back. As soon as I came back in the house, the first thing I received my phone in my news, which I did not read, it says the Supreme Court has striked Trump's tariffs. All right, like if I can go back real quick, in 2025, when Trump took the office, the first thing he did was signing a series of tariffs, and then immediately after he did that, the stock market crashed, the supply chain was disrupted. It's like going back to COVID. Everything was really disrupted because tariffs is a tax, right? Everything need to change, need to implement, etc. work. And then a few months after that, countries did the same thing. Canada did tariffs, so does Mexico, so does China, especially China, one of the biggest trading partner to the United States. Right, and then Trump did another reciprocal tariffs. Then he reduced them and reduced again. Like this became more like a tit for tat game, like children's game. And China, Canada, Mexico, Europe, they just gave up. They just stopped doing this kind of games. So, but there was other Supreme Court, like the United States. He has power. The Trump is using that power, but at the same time, they have people who can keep the power, keep the balance of power. So people have been suing these tariffs, calling them illegal, because not only do they harm the American people, they harm businesses, they harm international partners, they harm everything. They're not good. They're not like you can't just increase tariffs. It's one way to increase prices on the market, which is unnecessary. Things are already expensive already. Like why do you increase more expensive stuff? There are many ways to increase manufacturing in the United States. You can attract investors, you can subsidize, you can increase investments, right? then you can increase innovation. There are many ways to sort of, you can cut the prices, you can cut taxes. There are many ways to increase investments, but increasing taxes on consumer and businesses does not really help, right? Especially when consumers are depending on foreign imports simply because that foreign import is cheaper. There is cheap labor at the other side, right? So when they struck the tariffs, it sounds like a good news. In fact, the stock market went up. But I did not read the news. I did not see anything. I immediately started doing my work, and by normally around noon, I read the news. So I went on the channel. I watched Bloomberg, because I watched Bloomberg, right? Tariffs and all the economic stuff. Bloomberg is like the best place to watch. So as soon as they were analyzing the tariffs, immediately Trump announced that he's going to be having an immediate conference, right? He had a conference, media conference, and they announced that he's going to pass even more tariffs. And right now, as I speak, this was actually like, I don't know if I can put this up. Just the same day, like this event happened like the same day. Like Supreme Court struck tariffs, considered to be illegal, and dude just like he just like passed even more tariffs, right? Let me see if I can put this up. So here is the here's the news, right? From at 10:26. Oh, damn it! I don't like this when it turns off. So at 10:26. Okay, so at 10, where's 10? Okay, seems like it's not showing up. But anyway, at 10 o'clock, the Supreme Court struck the idea of tariffs considered to be illegal. Then the stock market went up around 2 p.m. right? And then Trump immediately, like 2 minutes ago, like 5 minutes ago, he announced that he signs up with he signs an executive order raising global tariffs by 10% immediately as soon as this law was passed. This Supreme Court considered to be illegal. Now I really I don't know what's going on in this administration. We don't know the main motivation why they're doing this. We don't know if they are trying to purposefully hurt American people, or if there is some kind of something going on behind the scene, right? Trump did not consider tariffs, like he's not imposing tariff in the form of national security. He says that he's doing this because of the fentanyl and drugs and the migrations, which is okay. Nobody's saying no with that. But is that really an emergency, or is there something that is going on that we don't know, right? I'm still questioning, because there's no way the president is passing these tariffs, even though they are considered to be illegal, and they are harming the American people, they're harming the businesses, right? I spoke to some people on last year. I mentioned this many times in my videos. Last year, people were screaming about these issues. They are mentioning how they can barely survive, they can barely buy food, barely get rent, right? It's incredibly insane. So anyway, so I just wanted to share that Trump just wants tariffs so bad, all right, and there is no clear plan of how they're going to overcome this. Because if you're going to raise tariffs on people's goods, you may have to you may have ways of compensating them, at least have some ways of compensating them. So here we are is just like even the Bloomberg News, one of the journalists said, maybe Trump wants us to see how we think. Maybe he wants to test. Maybe he wants to play with us. Cause this at this time sounds like a joke. Anyways, to tell you how these tariffs were so bad, I'm gonna put up the stock market right now, and immediately, as soon as this today, like the stock market has been very negative lately, but as soon as the tariffs were announced to be illegal, look at the S&P 500 index, 69% increase. Nasdaq, 40%, Nasdaq, 87% increase. Dow Jones Industrial Average increase, right? Except like volatility market, right? This is like obviously expected, but then the US dollar currency also is still negative. The US dollar currency went down because of tariffs since last year. In fact, the moment they passed the tariffs, the US dollar currency went way down. It became weaker. The yen Chinese became really stronger, not like close to the US, but was like close to, right? So when they did when he did like a revaluation of the tariffs, the US currency went up a little bit, but it's still down. It's still really down. Apple, it sees gains, right? You can see Tesla's seeing gains. You can see Netflix is seeing gains. These are like the top trading companies on the market, right? The oil, of course, is not doing great. But gold is up. If you see gold, that means good. People are buying gold because they have trust. Gold has been up since tariffs went up, because when the dollar is down, people put their money in gold, right? Because they don't want to invest in stocks anymore, right? But the silver is up. But you can see how like even the currencies are doing great, like the euro, the pounds, right? The Japanese yen, Bitcoin is obviously down, but even these different markets across the market, even the Nasdaq itself is reporting positive outcome here. You can see, look at how beautiful that is. This was all red yesterday, and everything went up. Okay, the volatility on the market is influenced by Trump, and Trump wants to influence stock market because it somehow gives him power. It gives him the time to exercise his own ego, his own power. Like he wants to be, I guess he wants to stay in the news all the time. He wants to keep getting calls from those Wall Street professionals, because they call him all the time. They don't pray. Investors, they don't pray. If anything, if you have a company and your company goes public, and the investors put the money in your company, it's like gambling. If gambling, right? Somebody puts their money in a lottery or some kind of casino, they don't wanna lose. So now imagine investors who are backed up by securities and banks and huge investments. They do not pray. So he likes that attention of constant calling and constant mentioned in the news by these Wall Street people like us, people like me. But until when, right? We need to open the economy back up. We need to make things better. We need to have jobs. We need to increase investments, and we need to move on. Other countries needs to move on. Countries depends on the dollar. When the dollar is fluctuating, is moving up and down, and is not stable, guess what happens in other countries? They start losing, and they don't have another choice. Some countries do have choices, which I don't know which countries have choices. Maybe Europe, right? But many countries are struggling because they rely on the dollar. Just the same way US relies on China, it's the same way US relies heavily on the other countries relies on the dollar. Okay, so we live in a global value chain. We live in a global World Trade Order, okay, or WTO. We are organized. We live in a very complex, connected trading patterns and waves, right? And when a president comes in like this and is making decisions for billions of people around the world, the way he feels like it's very hard to deal with, right? And especially when people are supposed to keep him in check, they all get fired. Like he was criticizing the Supreme Court a few minutes ago, saying that he is ashamed of them, and he went ahead, he passed 10% tariffs, even though they said it's illegal. Can you imagine that, right? So yeah, this is like the things that we have to deal with in the United States, and I'm proud that I'm doing economics, where I get to understand these things. I get to be asked in job interviews. I get to do them in schools. I just got an email right now from professor to read. I haven't read it yet, but it's probably gonna be about Trump's tariffs anyways, right? It's crazy. Why do I have to sit here and do research on tariffs? Why? When I could be doing research on other things. Income inequalities, poverty rate, economic developments, coding, researching, I know, right? Other things. But doing, well, now I can't necessarily like sit here and ignore his ideas. I feel like they have to have a reason why they're doing it. Okay, they mentioned that the reason why they're doing it is because of the deficit. But companies have not yet came back to the United States. How long is it gonna take? What's the short term versus the long term? And if companies comes in here, let's say migrates, Apple is investing in the United States, and many other corporations are doing the same thing to avoid tariffs. What if they move here, then all of a sudden a new government comes in, and then these companies goes back to where they were before, right? Is there a better way we can do this? Is there a better way this could be done? Is there a best way this could be fixed? Why does we don't know. I know politics, but nobody is an expert in Trump's politics. It's very, very unique. It's very civilized, not necessarily it's not civilized, but it's not civilized. Yeah, it's non-civilized. He just does things that are really surprised, right? And he has people supporting him for some reasons, and they acknowledge that for now the CPI is down, employment rate is rising, right? People don't have jobs. Everybody does have jobs. Before, people didn't have jobs where people like women and blacks. Now everybody's unemployed. Companies cannot even like choose, like they have no choice. They cannot hire. They are constantly, touching their savings. They don't have money. For what? What are you gonna hire for? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do when people don't wanna buy? Nobody's buying because everything's expensive, right? Tariffs do affect many Americans. Now, let's say he did tariffs and he didn't do migrations, but he did tariffs, he did the migrations. Migrants do work cheap labor. They are the ones who could be right now working in farms for free, I guess, maybe for $2. In turn, we get to buy food for cheap prices. It doesn't sound good, but it's something that could be better. These migrants, they don't care. They want to make a living. They know they are not documented. They want to just survive. But the problem is, he deported all of them, and even those who are supposed to be working, even those who have documents already, they couldn't go back. They couldn't go to work. They just stopped going to work. because they're afraid they could be snatched in the middle of nowhere by IC agents and be thrown into, you know, to jail, detention center. So people choose not to work, and people have choices. You can't just, and it's funny, it's fascinating right now that we have two types of people right now. We have people who are Americans, they want to work, like us, documented, have done everything correct. They went to school, had education, have skills, adapted the culture, contribute to the community. You want to work, but people are supposed to be hiring, they can't hire because they don't have revenue coming in. And when they have revenue, it's eaten by the government through taxes. And these people they are forced to pass the prices on consumer. Then consumers stop buying because they cannot afford. There are things I cannot buy right now. There are things that I just can't buy, cannot afford, even if I could, but because of the extra prices, it's not worth it. People, when you increase the price on something, I don't know, like, is Trump trying to reduce, because this is in economics, like Trump does economics, right? I don't know if his goal is to do economic stuff, which is it sounds like a good idea, but it's gonna take a lot of pain. I'm thinking, like, if Trump wants to reduce dependency, the US dependency on China, he could pass tariffs, a lot of tariffs, heavy tariffs on not just China but all countries around the world, and then in turn people will just slowly stop buying things from China and all over the world. Like, we could stop buying fridge, stop buying phones, stop buying computers, stop buying those things, and start buying American things. Start focusing on what we care about the most. Okay. Last year when I was doing economic analysis, according to neo-classic economics, people like black people, for example, they spend more money on the things that are not necessary, like shoes and watches and clothes, and they end up not buying a house, they end up not paying for school, they end up not able to, just have a nice car because they don't have, they are investing in the short term in things that are not necessarily yielding any returns. Meanwhile, people like white people, they are buying things like cars that last for a long time. They are buying houses. They are investing in long-term investments like education instead of like short-term investments like going to clubs or music or going out there and smoke weed, right? So this is, if this is Trump's idea, I mean, it sounds good, right? Just because the largest consumer of these products from China is mostly the people who are either middle class or poor, right? And these things are getting hit by tariffs. If this keeps going for a long time, it in economics is going to cause what we call less demand, raw demand. The demand is going to go down. It may sound irrational to think that the demand is going to go down when there's no supply, right? Wrong. Sometimes any taxes, any form of taxation, any form of charges that is not price based, normally the demand on something, the price on something goes up based on a demand, right? When there is a demand for a Lamborghini, the price goes up. But the demand and the supply of something, which influences the prices, does not have any external factors like taxes. When taxes kicks in, one of them gets affected, the supply or the demand. Okay. However, we have supplies, lots of supplies, which is why Trump is passing tariffs, is to reduce the supply of foreign goods come to the United States. But if you do that, the demand will drop, instead of going up, because people don't want to pay the extra fees if they know that the fees that they are paying is not equivalent to the actual copper that they are buying. Okay, think of this like a bucket, right? Like this bucket is in high demand. It's in high demand. It's needed to be bought, but the demand for this bucket is equivalent to $2. Okay, as long as there's a high supply of this product, the demand will still be there, and I'm willing to pay $2. And if there's this supply of this and there's no more, the demand is going to go up, and I'm willing to pay $3 to get this bucket. That's okay. That's because there's no supply for this. Okay, that's the supply and demand. This is the businesses and consumers doing their own work with no interventions from the government. When the government kicks in and passes tariffs, and then this product goes from $2 to $3, I'm not paying for that, because that's not the price for this product. That's not the demand. I don't need that. I could spend $3 instead with a substitute. Go out there and eat some chicken, or get some food, or wrap whatever is in here into plastic bags. Okay, so that's what you're gonna see in the United States is the people shifting away from buying in China and other countries to buying American. And that's the main goal for the Republican Party. They just want to reduce the codependency or dependency, however you call it. If that's his goal, hey, by any means, he do him, right? I think it's a good idea that if he's doing this. I think that if that's his goal, but I don't think that's his goal. I think his goal is to impose power. His goal is to feel better for himself, right? And his goal is to, push regardless who is suffering, and that is a terrible business practices, but anyways, that's all I have to say today, is that I was shocked by his reaction when Trump passed his tariffs. It's one of those things. It's one of those things that people say that not everything's gonna go on your way. Not everything's gonna follow your way or do as you please, right? Because there are millions of people out there, and these people, they don't think the same. They don't do the same thing. They don't live the same life as in Washington DC, right? Like I live in DC and already like disconnected with people around the country. People live their own lives, and people make their own decisions. When people go to the market and they see the price, they compare the current price and the previous price. Okay, they think, oh wait a minute, last time I paid $3 for a hamburger, why is it $5 now? What happened? Nothing in the news. The news doesn't say the hamburger is now facing shortages of cows or whatever that is, right? Like last year we had a shortage. I think this is like 2024. We had a shortage of eggs. That's because of the flu, whatever that is, like the epidemic. So it was coming up, or the spread of that killed chicken. So we didn't have enough eggs. People knew. They watched the news. It was there. Now you go to the market and you see the meat. The price of meat is up. You have no idea why. The price of chocolate is up. You don't know why. The price of eggs is up. You don't know why. There's nothing in the news that talks about eggs. Nothing in the news talks about anything. You go to the job website, no job is opening. Nobody's hiring. Nobody knows. The CEO doesn't know. The Supreme Court doesn't know. Nobody knows, right? Because people don't live in DC. People don't follow up in DC. We want people who knows this, and Trump wants to undermine people who are giving him the ideas. He doesn't want to listen. So anyways, that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Like always, hey, I appreciate if you watch my videos, and if anything that is wrong in this video and you find that you have any problem, any questions, reach out to my LinkedIn page. My email is in the chat, and as always, thanks for watching. and ciao ciao, bye bye, adios, spasiba.